Okay, so hi guys, this is Gemma from ASD Rocks with Richard Eisenmeyer from the ASD Clinic. To us, if I can talk to you guys and teach you correctly,
Correct.
I will never have to see
100% correct.
Your
That's
child.
what we try to do.
and that is what this is about.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well,
I am
I'm
trying-
more than happy to talk about.
Yeah,
You know, so
that
we
is-
do that a bit different to other clinics. So, a lot of my adult diagnoses are one or both parents of the kid that I've seen. Right, so it's a genetic condition. And so, as I'm going through the asking all those questions about the history for the child, if I'm getting on okay with the parents, I'll ask about 3/4 of the way through, who do these questions sound a bit like? And I love a sheepish dad putting their hand up. Sometimes we get the finger point. I think it's him, I think it's her. And we like a parent to put their hand up because we think, it's very important for a child to grow up thinking that, well, if mum and dad are okay, I'll be okay. So that sort of more mentoring sort of approach is very important.
So I want to just circle back round to the teaching the parents to fish almost. This idea of if I teach you, I never have to see your child.
Yeah. Perhaps if there's a psychologist's role, it should be about, informing siblings and talking to parents about how to manage and having correct expectations, which I think what I probably gave you a lot of, rather than sort of, lots of behavioural strategies.
Yeah, no.
It's more about, understanding the child and why this is going well and this isn't going well. So that's what I that's mainly what we do here. But if I diagnose a child at 10 or 12, 15, the average kid on the spectrum doesn't want to come to a psychologist and talk about their feelings, right? I've got kids that are brought, they don't get out of the car park. One kid was very funny and just said, "Mum, just give me the money that you pay Richard, because everything is fine in his office, but then Dad gets cross at me or my teacher gets cross at me, all of his words disappear, and I then go and do what I've done 100 times before, which is usually, a bit of behavioural meltdown." So it's much better for me to talk to that parent or talk to that teacher, and so that's what I tend to do a lot of. I rarely will see the child because I've got this concept, I like, in my mind, person on the spectrum is a bit like a mirror. If you bark and yell, you'll set off cortisol and adrenaline, and they'll bark and yell. Or, you'll set off fight or flight. If I can get those parents or teachers to calm down a bit, then the kid typically calms down. So, I'm constantly trying to de-authoritise parents, right? Because most of my clients don't want parents. They want mates, mentors, earthling guides, not somebody telling them what to do with them. That's what they need. That is what my clients need. Because they copy, they mirror.
I did say that raising Bo was like having an adult in a baby's body.
Correct.
It
That's
was
right.
like
Treat
having
me like a 25-year-old and I'm going to get on fire. It's just hard though when the kid's 10. It's
or
a school
2.
night. And he's still playing Minecraft and come on darling, it's time to get off. Oh no, but I've got to finish this level, blah, blah, blah. And it's hard. The parents need strategies on how to manage that, because if they rip the iPad out of the kid's hand, there's going to be a hole in the wall. So, or there'll be some big meltdown, or I'm going to kill myself type language. There'll be some sort of extreme event. So, parents need strategies on how do we get, him to understand my social communication messages when he is,
engrossed,
basically having the best time of his life and calming down, decompressing, I was meant to say, from, his day at school. It's just 9 o'clock and it's, he's 10 and it's a school night, So parents need that strategy. So parents come to me and say, well, he's addicted to screens, screens make him angry. Well, no, it's you telling him to get off that's making him angry, because he can't read all of these little signals.
Yeah.
Where with my kids, right, so my son's 18 and my daughter's 16, I could parent through my mood. All right, so basically within 2 minutes of me coming home, my kids could instantly read whether daddy was in a good mood or in a shitty mood.
It's so
right? So
penetrating when they do that. Like,
What's
get out
that?
of my... Like, Finn, he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, dude, everything's... What are you talking about? And he's like...
I love that.
And he goes, no, seriously, I know you. And he looks at me and he just levels me. And I'm like, get out of my...
I could yell at my kids, but I didn't have to yell very often because they could sense, dad's in a bit of a poopy mood. And so everything worked. So one, they could read every little signal. Two, their frontal lobes work. So if they saw me in a bit of an annoyed mood and they were doing something annoying,
steer clear.
Impulse control. So they could then think, and they could plan and organise all that executive function stuff. So they could think, if we keep an annoying dad, then we're not going to get Macca's tomorrow night, Friday night takeaway, or I'm not going to go for that sleepover. So they were very manipulative from around 5 or 6 years of age.
Yep.
Reward, if they were out of line, they'd get a warning and they'd do it again. They'd pop it. I
Slap
wouldn't hit them. No, I wouldn't hit them.
Yeah.
But there would be a consequence. So if they lost their computer rights for 2 days, they weren't, calling up the kids' helpline saying my dad's trying to kill me.
Abuse me.
That's right. Or,
bloody kids' helpline.
Writing, suicide letters, and shoving out the parent,
Jeez Louise,
that happens. So I'm constantly saying to parents when we give a diagnosis. So this is the thing that bugs me when even professionals or even schools will say, oh, look, he's so mild, does he need a diagnosis? We're umming and ahhing. I go, well, it's actually really important because, you need to know how to manage these situations because with an autistic diagnosis, you kind of lose half of your natural parenting skills. It's going to be a lot of bribery and corruption, rewards, token economies, whatever, and very little, I'm boss, you're the kid, this is how it's going to go, right? Because that is usually what causes... So an Aspie kid will micromanage. You're trying to micromanage, they mirror. You're trying to micromanage me, well, I'm going to micromanage you back by not doing it. And then it just escalates, and we have... a big 10-year-olds will pull knives on their parents, and the police are called. So, and the parents come saying, oh, he's going to be a psycho, he's going to be in jail one day. And I go, well, no, I think he was just really pissed off. And what precipitated that?
Real management, behavioural management.
To maintain, this is the key thing, to maintain relationships, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about, parents and teachers have to understand that when you've got someone on the spectrum, it's not about compliance. It's about connection, right? And for an Aspie kid, they're not so great at two-way connection. They're not the biggest manipulators in the world, right? They kind of live from here to here. This is my world. I'm not thinking if I'm please mum and dad, something's going to happen in 2 nights' time with Macca's or an extra, 2 hours on the computer. They live from here to here. And so, if a parent is very compliant orientated, they're just going to have wars every single night. So it's much, and then, he needs a psychologist for emotional regulation. Well, actually, no, he probably just needs parents to have a few more tools in their kit to sort of understand how to get him motivated to get off the computer so he goes to bed and go to school tomorrow. And so there's little strategies that we help parents with there to stop that warring. 14, 15, I've got clients that don't talk to their parents anymore, right? And all they're thinking about is leaving home, right? Because my parents, and I ask why. I go, well, my parents hate me. The parents don't hate the kid, but the kid has gone through night after night after night
of argument.
And they just think, well, my parents don't get me. I can't wait to leave, And so the parents have lost their kid through really good middle-class parenting, right? It causes all the damage. The tragedy is that parents were often seeing a professional that said, he is naughty, he is manipulating you, you need to show him who's boss. And so parents then go into, well, if you don't get off that computer, you lose your computer rights for a week. And the kid goes, well, well, then I'm not going to school. Well, you know, then I'm going to cut off the internet. Well, you've cut off the internet, I'm going to kill myself. You know, and it's like, it just, you know, they've got to outdo each other. We call it a Sheldon War. If you watch Big Bang Theory, you know, I'm right, no, I'm right, I'm right, you know, so.
Is there a point where, because I actually discussed this with Richard a lot, there is a point where autism is autism and rude is just rude, where bad behaviour and bad manners is not necessarily about autism.
So it's all chemical. So whether you call it a tantrum, I know people get very antsy about, you know, the differences between tantrums and meltdowns and things, but essentially it's chemical. It's when things have gone wrong, something hasn't gone the way you planned, or somebody thinks badly of you, right, and you don't know why. It will set off cortisol, right? And that's your fight, or I'm in my room for the next 3 years. So, you know, 2 and 3 year olds bite, hit, slap, hair pull. So, because, you know, 2 and 3 year olds are autistic in the sense that they can't, their theory of mind, so their capacity to theorise or guess what's going on in somebody else's head, that button that turns on in your head at around 4 years of age, that hasn't turned on yet when you're 2 and 3. So when you see, but 2 year olds don't hurt, but a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old who thinks, who doesn't have the dance skills yet, doesn't have the, if I please mum and dad, good things are likely to happen. So that hasn't often developed, and so when parents then try to control that, because the Aspie kid is like a mirror, the kid will then tries to control the parent. So you just end up in this, you know, escalation, very quick
One last piece of absolute gold that you gave me was never ever talk about them in front of them.
Yes.
And why? What's the...
Well, because, I mean, and this is why a lot of my clients don't like coming to see a psychologist, because they're not coming to a psychologist to hear about how awesome they are. They're coming because there's some problem. And again, I talk about the Aspie heart, like, you know, I just want to be seen as good and smart. And so if mum and dad are talking about, you know, how I didn't get off the computer and I didn't do my homework and I didn't do a chore and, you know, blah, 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 it's like, you know, very black and white when they're young. Oh, they hate me. That's what I do with my kids, when they can, you know, dad's in a bit of a, you know, mum's, you know, and then they're good as gold for the next few hours, and then I calm down and life's good again, you know. So they, because they can detect all of that message in my voice and my eyes and my body posture, all of those signals that most neurotypical kids can pick up. So again, that's why I said earlier, you know, I can parent through my mood. You don't have that setup when you're young. If you can't pick up all of these little things, and mum's voice sounds like it's just critical all the time, you know, well, yes, that my clients say that my mum hates me. I don't think your mum hates me. She's always sounds like she's unhappy with me, and the problem is that some of my clients aren't good at detecting the variation in voice, and sadly, they've got parents that are using sort of the wrong strategies, neurotypical strategies for a kid on the spectrum, and the kid just feels like he's being, you know, told off all the time or nagged all the time.
And also they record everything.
Every promise, every fight, every argument. It's like a library. You said, I remember saying that 2 weeks ago, you said.
Bo said to me, you know, his recall, his memory, it's terrifying, and it always has been. And he once said to me, you know, oh, well, that's when we weren't friends, and I was like,
correct.
And
bingo.
Yeah, but it was the under 2. He was under 2.
Yeah, and he remembered. Yeah,
right. He was non-verbal. He was under 2, and he was like, oh, well, that's when we weren't friends, and I was like, when were we friends?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when were we not? And hearing that broke my heart. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I really, I'm starstruck, awestruck. We all are. So, you know, all of these things have just been so beneficial. And having never seen Bo or never needing to see Bo, I can only pat us both on the back and say, you know, please keep going for all of us.